I'm going to start my dough with 3/4 of a cup or a stick and a half of butter, salted, unsalted, whatever kind that you have is good. And I'm going to, now, room temperature is perfect for me. This is room temperature. I keep my house a little cool. I'm going to whip this up until it is smooth and creamy. And that didn't take long at all. What I've got is a 1/2 cup of, canola oil, vegetable oil, whatever kind of liquid oil that you have. And this is going to be one of the things that keep this cookie moist, along with granulated sugar and confectioner sugar and the apple butter. But I'm going to go ahead and add my vegetable oil. Now this makes about, depending on how large you make your cookies, this is going to make about 3 dozen cookies. So if you're having a party or a get-together or taking, cookie exchange, then you got it. 2 room temperature eggs. And I have my eggs, my oil, and my butter mixed up as best that I can. I've got a 1/2 cup of the apple butter that I've made. This is so good. I hope that y'all give this a try. It is really a very, very nice thing to have around the holidays. And of course, about a teaspoon and a half of vanilla. Your very best vanilla. Going to add both of my sugars. The confectioner sugar in this recipe will give your cookies a really nice, like a chew, they'll be slightly crisp. Depending on how you bake them, they'll be slightly crisp, but they'll have a really nice, I have a hard time describing it, but it's a chew. And I think I have this as mixed up as best that I can. And you can see a few flecks of the vanilla and probably a little bit from the apple. But what I've got here, if I can do just a really quick, whoops, okay. Switch as best that I can. I have 4 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour. And yes, this does make a goodly amount of cookies. But what I have here is a combination of cream of tartar, baking soda, and salt. And I think that I have all of that in there. And I'm going to just give this a little bit of a quick whisk. And everything looks good from my perspective. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this and incorporate this into my cookies. And I think what I'm going to do is get, a little bit of a scoop. Hold on. Just a little bit of a scoop here, and just, to add this in here. And see how this is. These are delicious, delicious cookies, and a great way of using your apple butter. Although I have to tell you, if you have not made the apple butter, and I can certainly understand that, but if you haven't, you can go and buy, the commercially prepared in the big box stores. But just a word of warning, what is in the stores will not have the cinnamon and cloves and nutmeg and everything that this already has. So you might need to add, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon of cloves. You don't want to use too many cloves, and a little bit, maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon of, nutmeg. But I'm going to just you know, slowly kind of incorporate this. And I'll be right back. So I've scraped my bowl as best that I can, and I'm going to give it one more look. And this is a very, very nice wet dough. As you can see, this is pretty wet, but what I'm going to do is to cover this and refrigerate this for at least 1 hour before I even attempt to scoop it and bake it. So 1 hour or more in the fridge. I've allowed this to chill for probably a good 2 hours. I got really kind of busy and time got away from me, but I've uncovered it, and now the dough that we've made today for this size of a scoop, and I'm not really sure if there's a number on here, but this is just, you know, like a small cookie scoop. This is not an ice cream scoop, but this made 54. And as a matter of fact, that's the same amount of dough that I have in my peanut butter cookie recipe in my cookbook, but it makes exactly 54. And what I've been doing, just to, you know, kind of have a consistent bake, so to speak, I've, you know, they're kind of flat and kind of, you know, just giving it a good roll, flattening it a bit, and setting it down just like that. And I'm going to finish that. What I'm going to do is finish doing that, cover them back up, cover them very well, because I'm not really quite sure I'm going to get done with this today, because we're still have to make the frosting for it too. Yum. But I'm going to cover this, and whatever you do, if you wait overnight like me, or if you want to bake them right away, I really feel they must be very, very well chilled, okay? Because as I'm touching this dough, and I can feel how the dough is going to react, it might spread a bit. But, I mean, there's going to be frosting on it anyway, but you don't want it to get out of hand, so very, very well chilled. So, as y'all know, this is basically the size of the dough. Now, when I bake these off, I'm not sure if I took a photo or two, but oh, they were so good. They were really, the texture was just absolutely perfect, and they baked off fine, just like that. So I'm going to, I guess, bake off, you know, just 3, just like they're just a cookie, right? But I'm going to take another one that's been measured off, and you know, I'm going to just smash this right down, and I'm going to show y'all how we can turn one dough into 2 completely different cookies. And I'm going to do the same. I want to match this as best that I can, and I'm really hoping that they will bake off. Now, I did not, even this morning, and now these have been in the fridge overnight, and they're still very, very soft. So I know a lot of people are like, no, it doesn't matter if they're refrigerated overnight. Yes, it really does. This will keep it from spreading. But I like I said, I baked a few off last night, and right out of the fridge, and I didn't have, you know, I mean, they're going to puff up. They're going to spread slightly, very slightly. And so, well, the one mistake I don't want to make today, to bake too many, because they will get eaten. They really will, unfortunately. So I'm going to just spread these out. I'm going to bake these at 350. I started checking them at 8 minutes. I pulled it, touched it, and I'm like, not quite. And so last night I baked them for a total of 10 minutes at 350. And the one thing with these cookies you definitely want to do is to make sure that you start with a hot oven. Whoops. And so I'm gonna put these in the oven. I'm going to make my frosting, and we will be back once these are cooled and I'm ready to frost these. So I'm going to really quickly go through the ingredients here for the apple cider frosting. A cup of softened butter, or 2 sticks of butter, 5 cups of confectioner sugar, and I am definitely going to be sifting this and making sure that there is nothing, no little bits or anything. I want this to be smooth and beautiful. 2 tablespoons of apple cider, and what I'm using is Granny Smith apple cider, and 1/4 of a cup of the apple butter that I made not too long ago. And I'm going to whip that up. But what I will be doing, I actually baked some of these off last night. They are delicious even without the frosting. They're very mild flavored, and they bake off, you know, with the addition of the confectioner sugar in the dough and the cream of tartar. They're a very like a pillowy, very soft cookie. So we're going to get started with the dough in just a minute, but I'm going to work on this in a little bit. I'll be right back to show you what I'm going to do with the dough. So my frosting came out just beautifully. This is part of it. So the measurements that I gave you are absolutely perfect. And I'm really going to encourage you to sift your confectioner sugar, but this came out really, really very, very nice. I have my cookies here. Now, these are the cookies that I baked, and these are just exactly like I formed them up and just flattened them out and, you know, kind of smoothed them around. And this is what you will see for 54 cookies. I'm going to go ahead and before I frost these, I'm going to you know, just open this cookie up for you. Not really sure which way to go. And that's what it looks like on the inside. And I'm going to just put that right there. And I do have a little bit of frosting, if I can get my bag to cooperate. And I'm going to just give it a good swirl. And, oops, sorry. This is what your frosting is going to look like. Of course, you might frost it differently. But what I, you know, after I ate these and I started to, you know, think about the frosting, and I don't see why we can't turn these into, if I can set this somewhere, into like a whoopie pie. So what I'm going to do, or try to do, is to get this just like that, and just like that. And here you go. An apple cider snickerdoodle. No, not a snickerdoodle. My apologies. Whoopie pie. I guess, you know, if you wanted to, you could lightly brush this and do a little bit of cinnamon sugar on it, but I'm going to leave mine just like that. You know, I've really never been a big, you know, I wouldn't say a fan of whoopie pies. It's just not something that I've ever really eaten. I don't think I've eaten maybe one. one. And if you want to, you could probably, depending on if you're going to serve these relatively quickly, you probably could find some dehydrated apple chips chop them up, maybe put a chip or two here, or roll a little bit in here. As a matter of fact, let me go see if I have some here. And of course, I do have some apple crisps, and I'm just, breaking a few up and putting them on our cookies here. And I don't really think that the apple crisps are going to, stay crisp. And I might do something different. These are delicious. I might do something different on these whoopie pies. Now, if you want to, I do have some sugared sprinkles here. And if you want to, now I really didn't load up my whoopie pies, probably as heavy as what some people do. But what I'm going to do is I just did a little bit here. Let's see how that's going to work. And that's going to work really, really pretty. I'm going to put another one on this one. Put a little more in here. Or a combination thereof. Certainly, if you don't want to put the apple crisp on there, just a little sprinkle. And here you go. And these cookies are actually, even though I broke one kind of in half, when I went to frost it, I didn't even realize it was the one I had broken in half. So they're very soft, very, and I'm always reluctant to mention brands, but I've seen those Oreo cakesters similar to that. And here you go. One dough, two different ways, and I know that this is going to be delicious. I had some last night, unfortunately, and they are very, very nice. I hope that you give this recipe a try, and I hope that you join me here, home, at the Hollow. Goodbye, y'all.